The first two rounds at Barber showed this combination of classes can be potent for action. But while Barber lacked many long straights, the backstretch here at Road Atlanta could change the game around completely. While the more technical portions of the track will still prove challenging, we'll see if passing becomes an easier proposition as we get ready to watch round 3 of the V-TEC GTR series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Ryan Walker. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. This Georgia track is sometimes referred to by drivers as the roller coaster. To really understand why, let's hop on board with our track guide to get a sense of just how wild the elevation changes are.
All right, we've got Kevin Brown behind the wheel of the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Road Atlanta. Turn 1 is going to be a fast right-hand sweeper, but despite the fact that it heads uphill, it's easy to understeer wide, and if that happens, expect to slither off into the concrete barrier. Then right away, you've got turns 2 and 3. It's completely blind at the apex and prone to lap 1 pileups. Passing here is ill-advised. As soon as you're done with that, though, you plunge back downhill through the S's. We need a very specific line through here to set up for turn 5. This is another uphill corner, but watch out for the curb on the inside because grabbing too much of it will unsettle the car, and there's very little room on either side to save it. Now we're heading towards turn 6. There's plenty of banking in this corner, so it's faster than you'd expect it to be for a 90-degree right-hander. But before you know it, you've hit turn 7. This is easily the most critical corner on the track. As you can see, it dumps you onto the backstretch, which means your corner exit will be of the utmost importance. Botch it, and you'll be a sitting duck to the draft the whole way down the straight. Not only that, but at the end of this is the heavy braking zone for the chicane of 10A and 10B. The rest of the course is very technical, so expect most of the pass attempts to take place here. The tricky part is, the switchback means it's possible to defend from either side, so guys will be fighting hard to retain position. It'll take respect from both drivers to make it work. After that, we head back over the crest, fly through the final corner, and finish a lap around Road Atlanta.
Some slightly sunnier conditions to give you a better picture of this track, but Ryan, you can give us a little bit more detail actually about what this place is like here down in Atlanta.
So yeah, Road Atlanta is located just north of Braselton, Georgia. The facility is utilised for a wide variety of events, including professional and amateur sports car events and motorcycle races, racing, and also driving schools such as the legendary Skip Barber Racing School, and also corporate programs and testing for motorsport teams. And some information about the track as well. It's 2.54 miles in length for 4.08 kilometres if you prefer to use that. And it has an amazing 12 turns, and the race length for tonight for both races will be 15 minutes for race 1, and for the second race of the evening it will be 30 minutes.
And as qualifying just gets started, we're waiting for cars to get out on track among these 3 different classes, which we have race details for today. Why don't we pull those up on screen? We are running rounds 3 and 4. There's 2 events that will be taking place today. A sprint race, which we're getting ready to start now, and a feature race, which will come up a little bit later. Now, they have these 3 different cars to choose from. They're all in their own class. The Audi R8 is the GT3s. The RS3 is a TCR class car. And then the Porsche 911 Cup is, of course, the Cup class Porsche car that they use in the World Championship here on iRacing on the roadside. It's fixed setup for all 3. And they've got, as I mentioned, that sprint and the feature. This is going to be 15 minutes for this one. They do have to worry about incident points because every 10 incidents, they lose 3 points in this championship. So you got to keep it clean out there. It's open setup, or open qualifying, I should say, out here in this 10-minute qualifying, Ryan. And considering there's almost a 10-second gap from the fastest class to the slowest class, I almost wonder if we might see a few problems trying to find some clear track.
Quite possibly with these, with it being multi-class as well. As you can see on screen right now, there's some cars slowing down trying to get a clear lap and some clear track, but with the slower cars such as the Porsche Cup class I should say, and the TCR class, it's going to make it very difficult. So these drivers in the fastest class will have to time their lap to perfection.
Already got a few that are on their way starting the lap. So we'll get some times down on the board here in just a moment. Only 10 minutes. So not a whole lot of time to try and get around here and get laps in, even though they go quickly with, I believe, all three classes being around or under a minute and a half per lap as we watch Andrew Hitchings come around. Hitchings is going to be a bit of a question mark here, Ryan, because I didn't see him set a time in the warm-up. So he's kind of holding his cards close to his chest.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen him set a lap either. I think he might have just been waiting until qualifying to just get some laps down. But at the moment, he's on a flying lap, so I'll be interested to see how Andrew gets on in qualifying.
I'm double checking here. I do see 3 laps put in, but that's very few considering how long they had to practice. So as the Audi comes down into the final chicane, up and over the crest, under to the Suzuki Bridge, let's see what he can do when he really pushes here. Number 14 getting ready to cross the line out of that final corner. His first lap going to be a 1:18.7, and he is actually the first driver to put a time here in qualifying.
As Alex Fake comes across the line to set a lap, his fastest lap was a 1:19.6.
Looks like Burka goes a little bit quicker. He's got about 4/10 over Hitchings right now. Holds the provisional pole up in the GT3 class. Marcus Walton on the first time around manages to set the fastest time, although we still have a few more here in the TCRs. Try and get something down. This will be interesting to watch with these TCRs because as you could guess by the weather conditions, just visually, it's a little bit cool. And we know, Ryan, these tires on the TCRs take a bit to warm up.
Yeah, and these cars as well have got I believe anyway, they've got the latest tire model. So it takes the tires probably about 2 or 3 laps to really get up to optimum temperature, especially the front, or especially the rear tires, without being a front wheel drive car. So these guys in the TCR class will have to be careful in the first few laps.
Rosen not setting a time on that first lap. He must have had an off track somewhere. So he'll continue on around to try and do a little bit better. Hitchings back around for his second lap. Does not improve. Does Burka go quicker? He does by 2 more tenths. So the number 71 extending that gap to the rest of the field in the GT3s.
Sam Winton coming across the line, but coming across the line to set a lap, and yeah, that was a very slow lap. And then Marcus Walton coming across the final couple of corners to set his lap, and to see where he qualifies. He sets a 1:28 point.
Yeah, but that one didn't count once again for Walton. So he's going to be overtaken here as other drivers get their tires up to temperature. Freitas right now, the quickest time there in that TCR class. Curiously, we're still yet to see any of the Cup class. That's the middle class, I guess you could say, is nobody's set a time. Prost and Morelli are out on track, but we're not seeing Milligan out there yet. Ooh, and Prosen just hit one of our TCRs. That was Andrew Miller. We didn't see it on screen, so he's going to have to come back in and get back out quickly because we have less than half the qualifying left to go.
As Morelli's on another lap at the moment, and currently in pole position for the Porsche Cup class, and yeah, the only driver to set a time at the moment. In fact, as Sam Winton's coming across or coming around the final few corners to hopefully improve his set a time, I should say. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong driver in my lifetime.
That one did set a time. That actually puts him in a second place, but it's more than half a second off of Tobias Burka. Tobias is absolutely flying compared to the rest of his field. Here he's going to try and improve yet again, but he had an off track. So another lap that did not count for him.
As Lewis Klinkhammer comes across as a line to, I'm not sure if he improved, but he's currently in P3 at the moment in the TCR class.
Yeah, he did not improve. It was a 28.5 for him. We're watching Chris Howard now on screen. And then Stefan Schlacker who's sitting in 9th. He improves to a 28.9, so that bumps him up to 8th.
And there's still four drivers I've noticed at a time in the TCRs. That's Carlos Vila, Jeff Jacobson, and a couple of other drivers. So those guys are going to have to hurry up and try and set a lap time, as they've only got about three minutes in it.
Rosen finally gets one down. He's about 2/10 off of Nick Morelli. Not too far back, but he'll certainly want to find a little bit more in there, especially in the race itself. Milligan has yet to take to the track, and I do not see him in the session, so we might only have 2 cars out there for that Porsche class. So we now have Burka out there. See if he can go quicker, and he does not, an 18.23. Marcus Walton down and around, trying to improve on that 27.9. Let's see what this third time lap is going to be. It's a 28.2, so a little bit slower that time around.
As I'm just watching Ethan Bass coming around the final corner to see, hopefully set a better lap, and he comes across the line, and yeah, he does not improve.
Stefan Schlacker, one more time. Let's see if he can go quicker than that 28.9. He does, but by less than a tenth, about half a tenth, and that still gets him back up into 8th, as he had fallen to 9th over that course of that lap. What about Nick Morelli trying to extend the pole position? That last lap for him, unfortunately, looked like he had another off track there. Oh, and Prosen just topped him by a little over 1/10. So the number 75 goes to the pole in our Porsches in the dying stages of this qualifying.
As Andrew Miller came across the line in the TCR class, and yeah, he didn't improve his lap time either. So it looks like the track might have got a little bit hotter, possibly.
Sam Whitten on what looks like an out lap, judging by that lap time. And I'm watching Marcus Walton, still looking to take this pole away. There he is, under the bridge and down to the line. He's got 2/10 to make up to take it away from Freitas, and he doesn't do it this time. In fact, Freitas has a chance to respond, but he has an off track, so doesn't get a lap through. Connor Parise up to second. The number 11 gets onto the front row with the TCR class.
That was a fantastic lap from Connor. He managed to just improve in the final few seconds, as we've got about 30 seconds left of qualifying.
And Morelli takes it back over Prosen. Since Prosen has ducked it into the pits, he cannot respond. So Morelli will be our pole sitter, because we still do not see Milligan out on track. This is McGarity now down in 12th. This last lap stays at a 31.2, so that's not going to be an improvement. He has one more chance to try and make it quicker, as the clock just now comes to the checkered flag. Burka snuck across the line to try and get one more in. What about Sam Winton? This is it for him, and it's his quickest lap on the last asking. It is at 18.3, but that's not good enough for pole over Burka.
As Connor Parise is coming down the back straight as well into the chicane. It looks like he might be on a good lap, but I'm just keeping it. Oh, as he gets a bit sideways in the chicane, but I wonder if he'll be able to keep that momentum going up the hill.
Connor Parise going to abandon it. So as he practices his pit entry, not to the greatest of success, as he has a little spin there. Carlos Villa and Ethan Bass are going to come across the line trying to improve. Villa does to a 28.7. That puts him up to 7th. And also to 5th for Ethan with a 28.3.
Yeah, a good lap. Oops, sorry.
I was just going to say Philip Schill coming across with a 28.5, his quickest. That's going to put him in 6th. Who else do we have coming across here? Morelli's going to abandon his lap. McGarrity's on his final flyer here. He's down in 13th. So he's got to work hard on this one. And he's not happy with it. 157 is done for the day. Another driver practicing the entry and having some problems. So clearly that could be an issue for our drivers. But that's going to set our grid for the sprint race. Let's go through the order of our starters here today. 10 at a time. It is Tobias Burka on the pole for the GT3s with Sam Winton starting in second in that class. Andrew Hitchings will be starting P3 there for the GT3s. Then it's Alex Thake, the last of the four in that class, and with a 119.2. On the pole for the Cup cars, it is going to be Nick Morelli in fifth, with six going to Sasso Prosen. Overall, just two of those that look like they will be starting this race, as Tyler Still has not joined. Starting on the pole in the TCRs, it is Miguel Freitas, with Connor Paris starting in second. Marcus Walton will be starting ninth. 10th overall will be Lewis Klinkhammer. What's the next 10 look like, Ryan?
So in the TCR class, it's Miguel Freitas that takes the pole position, starting alongside him in the front row. And second is Connor Paris. Third place is Marcus Walton. Lewis Klinkhammer starts in fourth. Ethan Bass starts in fifth. Starting in sixth is Philip Schill. Starting in sixth is Philip Eckert. Seventh is Carlos Vila. Eighth is Stefan Slacker. Ninth is Chris Howard. And rounding out the top 10 in that class is Nick Veltina. Hopefully I said that right.
Then you've got Andrew Miller, Stephen McGarity, Jonathan Rodriguez, and Jeff Jacobson rounding out the field. Tyler Milgren with EA did not start today. They're going to have a rolling start, and as you can see, it has fast forwarded in time. We're going to have a night race here for the sprint, which is just going to add to the difficulty around this place. I'll be honest, Ryan, I feel like this is one of the more underrated circuits in terms of challenges. I've seen attrition play a major factor in races here at Road Atlanta in the past.
Yeah, it's one of those tracks, especially when it comes to racing at night time. From my experience, it's one of the most difficult tracks at night time to try and get your head around. It's just, you can't really afford to make any mistakes, especially through the S's, and I think these drivers are going to have to be very, very much on their toes.
You can already see the TCRs trying to weave to get temperature into the tires. So as they work their way through turn one, it is a little bit cooler. Well, not a little bit cooler, quite a bit cooler. It's actually as cold as it can get here on the iRacing service. 64 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface right now. A little bit of wind, but really not much should be an issue. It's definitely going to take a bit for all the cars on the new tire model, which is the Cup cars and the TCR cars, to get those up to temperature here today. They weave it through the S's. You know, we talk about the challenge, not just driving by yourself, but what about dealing with traffic? That S's section is going to be a nightmare with 3 different classes.
Yeah, these Audis are going to have to be very patient through the slower class cars. Through the S's, the S's is not really a place that you can try and lap traffic or make a move on traffic. You've just basically, if you're stuck behind a car through there, then it's just you've got to deal with it, even if you lose something like maybe 2 or 3 seconds.
It is just before 7 p.m. virtual standard time right now, so it's only a 15-minute race. It won't get that drastically different, but you can see how much the darkness has enveloped Road Atlanta here for our sprint race. Down the long backstretch, we didn't get to really see the draft in effect for the TCRs at Barber. What do you think about this backstretch for those TCR cars here at Road Atlanta, Ryan?
I think the backstraight, if you can get a good run onto the backstraight in these TCR cars, you could possibly get a run on someone and make a move into the final chicane, but it's all about just getting that exit perfect and possibly just carrying the speed. But with these TCR cars, it'll be real close, and the slipstream, I think the slipstream will make it a lot more close as well.
All right, Porsche pace car is peeling in, giving Burka control. Green flag is out immediately. They get no time to wait. Burka, not the best of starts as they come across the line. Sam Winton already going to challenge him as they plunge down into turn 1. And he's going to try and work his way around the outside, but it doesn't look like it's quite going to work. We've got to hop over to the Cup cars. How's that start going?
Yeah, it looks like the Cup cars have had a good start as well. They've all managed to make it through turn one without any issues, and at the moment, I don't see third place in the Cup cars, but at the moment, Nicholas Morelli is leading with Sasso Prosen close behind.
Yeah, Milligan has been confirmed to not be able to start, so it's only going to be 2 Cup cars here today. So meanwhile, back in the TCRs, Freitas is ahead of Paris. Walton, who's really been the quickest of everybody for much of the existence of this series in the TCRs, is down in third, and that's a bit of a surprise to us. We'll see if he'll get better race pace as things continue on. Already they're working their way onto the backstretch. No change up at the front in our GT3s. Burka leads Winton, leads Hitchings, leads Fake. Walton with a good run here. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just about to say the same thing. Walton's got a run on Paris, and he's having to go on the outside though, so it looks like Paris will have the inside line heading into the chicane.
And a big slide there across the front of Walton. Paris somehow catches it though, keeps the spot. I can't believe they kept everything in line there. Walton had to slow up, so Klinkhammer now gets a run as we come down the front stretch. We're watching from the back of Paris. Defensive move, but then back to the racing line for Marcus Walton. So they're all going to stay in order. Freitas leads Paris second, Walton third. Klinkhammer obviously applying a lot of pressure as well. Braking for turn 3, blind into this corner, and Walton already back up on it and challenging on Paris.
Yeah, it's a great racing so far throughout this TCR class. I'm just, it looks like they've managed to make it through lap 1 without any issues, and at the moment it all seems to be relatively...
And even though it's only 2 cars in these Porsches, we got a battle on our hands because Prosen has been challenging Morelli. He falls off a little bit coming off of turn 7 and onto the back stretch. Let's see if the slipstream does anything for the Porsches as well as they start to pick up speed. Looks like he's not quite going to be close enough for anything down into the chicane. He could maybe have a go if he really wants it, but he decides better of it. They're going to stay in order. Let's go back to Walton because he's looking to the inside of Paris. Can he manage to make a pass stick this time? Paris actually gets it through the corner successfully, but no change for position. Behind them, though, and we got a car slow. That is Carlos Villa. Not sure what happened as he's now taken the tow. He didn't hit anything. Let's take a quick replay. This was very close between a number of cars, and behind him there was a spin from Andrew Miller as well. Just outbrakes himself, and then Carlos parks it. Not sure why he decided that, but regardless, that is going to remove one of our drivers. We're now down to 14 in the TCR class.
I'm just watching the battle between Marcus Walton and Lewis Klinkhammer at the moment. They're both really close as they're coming to these to the double right-hander heading onto the back straight.
This could be an important turn. Let's see how the exit goes for them. Klinkhammer not quite on top of it with Marcus Walton. In fact, even Bass is already right on top of him. He's going to use that slipstream. The number 19 trying to get himself a good enough run to have a go down into the chicane. He might be able to do it. It's closed to within about a car length and a half, but a defensive move from Klinkhammer is going to make it a little bit harder. So looks like Ethan's going to duck back in line. Change of position behind them. Schill and Eckert going to swap around for 7th.
Yeah, I was just watching. Yeah, I was just about to say, just looking at Eckert at the moment, he's still under pressure.
Eckert's going to look to the inside of Schill, but nothing doing there. Both of them clattering over the curbs. Could run out of there from Philip Eckert, but then thinks better of it now that they come up to turn 3. We might have to duck back up to Paris because Klinkhammer is almost bumping the rear end of him, nearly bump drafting him through the S's. This is for third position, and in fact, he's almost getting the same treatment from Bass behind him. They finally separate just a little bit over the crest to turn 5, but clearly they are not afraid of getting close to one another.
Yeah, this TCR class, it's from the races I've done before, it produces great racing, and it's just been proven here by this close battle as well. And yeah, Walton, Paris, Clint Cameron, Bass, and Ethan Bass is a driver that I've raced with in the past and other sims as well, and he's not always the quickest, but he's a consistent driver.
Camera, as we watch him on board, Bass has finally got it to the inside of Paris, but he's got to execute here, and it looks like Connor is going to deny him with a great run through the middle of the corner, but the over-under with a brilliant maneuver for Lewis is going to get him into third place.
That was a fantastic move. He managed to get that pulled off, and the over-under, it was just, he had that planned on the corner entry and managed to get it done in corner exit. That was a great move.
In the background, we saw side by side, that was Eckert overtaking Schill into turn 1. That was a clean pass. Let's stay with this, though, on screen. Paris looking to pull the same move on Klinkhammer with an over-under through turn 3. Doesn't work out. He stays back in line. All this fighting is allowing Marcus Walton to get some clear air, and he is trying to chase down Freitas in front of him. Oh, bad exit there for Klinkhammer.
Yeah, just watching behind as well. They're side by side heading into his double right-hander, but he's still trying to keep his nose in, but I thought it was going to be con.
Yeah, Lewis tried to keep it to the apex on Paris, but Connor just about chopped him off. That compromised the exit of the 26, and now Ethan Bass in the number 19 is right behind him. This has been fantastic fighting to decide the final spot on the podium. Ethan going to look to the inside at the same time that Klinkhammer tries to move on Paris. Are we going to get a 3 wide as he almost shoves him all the way to the inside, breaking down into the chicane? Klinkhammer can't quite get it done, cuts back under, and it doesn't quite work out as he gets slammed into the side as he comes together with Ethan Bass. And Bass is going to have to try and collect it. He manages to get into 4th, but a lot of argy-bargy in there.
Yeah, Ethan Bass, he's been a bit feisty there, and I don't know if that was a bit naughty, but yeah, I'd probably say it's a hard but fair defensive move. He left just enough room, and luckily both of them managed to survive just.
Ooh, and let's go to the leaders overall, because Burka was caught by Winton for a while. That's because they've caught traffic, and it is thick and fast for them to try and weave their way through these TCR cars. Burka doing a little bit better now after he got caught for a brief moment. Hitchings instead is the one running down Sam Witten. Now through the S's and up and over the crest of 5. They cleared a big pack of them. They get a little bit of a break. Oh, did something happen to Bass? Bass just lost 2 positions. Eckert got by, so did Klinkhammer. And Klinkhammer is getting a push from Eckert down the backstretch. They literally were bump drafting. I think they're going to stay in line. Oh, a little bit of a shove as Eckert gets a tap from Bass. I'm not sure if we'll have time to get to the replay of what happened earlier here, because they are still very close together. Bass also being chased by Schill. Oh, and I think we had a lead change in the Cup cars. Did Prosen just get by Morelli? So how did this happen? Let's take a look. This looks like a mistake up and over turn 5 from Morelli here, Ryan.
I think so. It could be he might have just lost it on the bump on the exit of the S's, and yeah, it looks like he might have just lost it on the bump possibly, but Prosen up into the lead.
Great stuff. We got to go back to Paris here in 3rd with a train of cars behind him. And Klinkhammer looking around the outside up into turn 6. Behind them, Eckert maybe having a little bit of a look, but thinks better of it. Klinkhammer goes the other way, gets underneath, down into turn 7, trying to get the shot off as everybody slams that throttle down. And now they start to pick up speed down the backstretch. Who is going to have a go at who down into the chicane? It is an absolute traffic jam as they come down here.
Yeah, as they come down to the final chicane, it's going to be, it looks like, up the inside. It's
and
going
there's
to be
our
a matter
leader. That's our GT3 leader who's getting into the mix just to complicate things. Klinkhammer gives a shove to behind from Paris, just as to his inside. That's Tobias Burka now getting clear. Oh, they have got to tiptoe their way through this. This is going to be dangerous. Almost 3 wide, a little bit of contact back there. Ethan Bass with Philip Eckert managing to get through. Everybody, and no, not everybody's going to get through. More contact. That was Eckert and Bass once again, both still getting through there. And Alex Thake flashing his lights, wanting to just try and get by without getting any damage from all this action happening in front of him.
Oh, this
he
is...
ducks under Eckert just as he goes off track. Sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
I'm just going to say this is absolutely crazy, but I'm loving this. Bass and Eckert going at it like crazy and not giving an inch, and unfortunately it resulted in contact, but both of them have managed to keep going luckily, and this TCR car, from my experience, is an absolute tank. It can take any damage that you can throw at it within reason.
Once again, we're on board here with Schill. This is chasing Eckert. They've spread apart with that lap traffic coming through. So not seeing any pass attempts down into the chicane this time by. We have lost a few drivers along the way, including, I think we may have just lost McGarity. At least he's off track. Stevens getting it going once again. He just had a spin coming through turn 7. Let's stay with this battle. On screen, Klinkhammer chasing Paris with Ethan Bass just behind him. And we had a problem for Andrew Hitchings, one of our drivers in there you see him right there, going by. That was in the S's. Not sure what caused him to get off there. Let's take a look at the replay. I think this is all driver error. Get loose on his own. 3-3. It's happening out of 4 down into the S's. He got caught out by the TCR in front of him. That just threw him off.
Yeah, I think he might have just got caught out by maybe the slower speed on the TCR car, and just had to check up, and unfortunately he just lost it and lost it onto the grass. But he managed to get going again. But
back to P3 because we got a nice battle on screen. Bass side by side with Klinkhammer, and he gets it done. This gives some breathing room to Paris just in front of him because he was right there at their bumper when they went into the corner. A much better exit lets him stretch away as this battle continues. Bass in front of Klinkhammer for P4 in the TCRs. Into turn 1, send it in and deep. Lewis Klinkhammer not going to sit around and actually gives a shove for extra measure to make sure that he takes that position by force.
This is a fantastic battle between these two. This has been going on for basically since the middle of the race, and yeah, Klinkhammer is not giving an inch, and I don't think Bass will be happy about being pushed out wide in turn 1.
And as this is going on, we actually still have a battle for the lead between the only 2 cars in the Cup cars. Prosen gets overtaken by Morelli, but an over-under through turn 1 could give it right back to Prosen. Side by side into turn 3 doesn't usually work well, and they manage to get through. Not quite. Morelli spins, catches it, and he keeps going, but it loses a lot of time to the 75.
He just lost under braking, but that's allowed Prosen into the lead, and yeah, Prosen's got a big gap.
And something happened to Klinkhammer here. Klinkhammer was way off track. What was going on there? This is on the back stretch. As we got a car off in front of them, that's Bass. Bass goes off, so they came together, and he thankfully, wow, It was very lucky there, Ryan, that they were at the portion of the track where they have the cut across. Otherwise, he would have slammed into the wall.
Yeah.
Or when Bass had a show from behind. This is just completely wild. Oh, and Morelli's back in the lead. Oh, Morelli stopped, and so is Prosen. What's going on here? I think he maybe was waiting. Prosen was waiting. Meanwhile, we got to get back to the lead in the GT3s because Burka and Winton are only 6/10 apart. As the checkered flag comes out, Burka going to take it by a narrow margin over Sam Winton. Alex Thake is going to finish third. I had totally forgotten. We were on a sprint race and 15 minutes already over. So Prosen and Morelli have already finished. That's why they were stopped. Morelli, I think, going to take the victory on that with Miguel Freitas fighting to keep Walton back. Or is this a lapped car? No, this is a lapped car. This is Freitas going to take a win by about a second over Walton. Miguel, probably the most calm of everybody out here. Oh, and it is just madness as Philip Schill's moving up into fourth ahead of Eckert. Bass is back there. Veltenar, we haven't even talked to him. He's going to be moving up to what I think is 8th in class, 7th in class. That all changed around at the end. We're going to have to take a replay of what happened down the backstretch with our TCR class. I think this starts with Eckert. Eckert is ahead of them coming into the backstretch. He comes off course, and that's going to allow Schill to get by. Then behind him, Klinkhammer and Bass are once again rubbing fenders. It's hard to... Okay, here's Klinkhammer. Almost went 3 wide. In fact, they did go 3 wide briefly. And then it looks like Klinkhammer got bumped off. Schlacker was involved. He went off course. Valtenar was as well. Bass snuck through and managed to get himself into 6th place. This is going to take some dissecting. This is the best view here from above. Look at that mess. Everybody desperate for something there at the end. We're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Atlanta. In the darkness, we got a lot of action. And up at the front of it, it was Tobias Burka taking the victory by only 0.3 over Sam Winton. Definitely kept chase on him, and the lap traffic kept them close together. Alex Fake wound up in third with Andrew Hitchings with a spin, unfortunately finding himself falling to fourth. And then, interestingly, the TCR cars finished ahead of the Cup cars. So Miguel Freitas finishes fifth overall, wins his class in the TCRs. Marcus Walton finishing in second with Connor Parise in third. Then you've got Philip Schill finishing eighth overall and fourth in class. Philip Eckert in fifth, but ninth overall. 10th overall was Ethan Bass and sixth in class. Ryan?
Yep, they taking the class win. Sorry, in the Porsche class was
We're on Voltanar there.
Oh, sorry, my apologies, my bad. Nick Voltimore finishes on 11th, 12th was Stefan Slacker, up 13th was Chris Howard, 14th was Lewis Klinkhammer, 15th was Andrew Miller, 18th was Jeff Jacobson, 19th Stephen McGarrity, and 20th was Jonathan Rodriguez.
So, looks like we've got Tobias Burka ready to talk to us, the winner in the GT3. So, why don't we see how it was from his perspective? Because, well, Tobias, it looked like you didn't have a whole lot to see out in the darkness, at least until you came up to traffic. That looked just wild out there.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty dark. I expected a little bit of light, but actually I had none. So for me, it was completely dark, despite the headlights. And yeah, there was some exciting stuff on this little track.
So it seems like you've got some pretty good pace in this GT3 class, but Sam Winton is keeping you relatively honest. Do you consider him a threat for the win once we go to the feature here in a few minutes?
Well, absolutely. I mean, he's starting before me, and it will be tough to beat him. He has a good pace. He's shown that. And again, with all the lap traffic and everything, yeah, it will definitely be an exciting race.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to it, especially that reverse grid that you mentioned. Best of luck when we come back in a few moments' time.
Thank you.
That was Tobias Burka, winner in the GT3 class. Up next, Ryan has caught up with Stefan Schlacker.
Yeah, bit of a quiet race for you, Steph. Yeah, how did that go for you? And you seemed to pick up the pieces when the people were having issues on the final lap.
Yeah, I mean, you can say it was a quiet race, probably from the broadcast view, but most definitely not from my point of view, because that was rather wild, having two coming together, one with Philip Schill into turn one, and then also one with Nick Velton at the very end there. But yeah, I don't know. The pace didn't look all too good in the practice. Qualifying was a little bit better. Race most definitely an improvement, but I'm really not happy where I'm sitting right now. With that 8th place, I think that was result in the class. That ain't gonna do very well for my points.
Yeah, I mean, you said that it wasn't quiet for you. Why was that? Was it just kind of being in a battle at time, or for most of the race, or was it just you mentioned before the broadcast you were struggling with the tiredness a little bit. Did you think it was to do with that?
Yeah, it could have very well been. I don't really know for sure, but yeah, just have to get your head in and take it up the chin and do the best you can.
Good stuff. Well, thanks for joining us, Steph. And if you're not racing race 2, we'll look forward to see you on track at the next round.
No, most definitely I will race that last race.
Good stuff. That was Stefan Slacker joining us in the booth, and back over to you, Joe.
Yes, we're going to take a really quick break here. We'll be back with more racing because we have the feature coming up where they will reverse the grid for all classes, and we'll go again for 30 minutes this time. So stick around for awesome racing here at Road Atlanta and the V-TEC GTR series. Back to Road Atlanta. We're getting ready to watch the feature race today for the V-TEC GTR series, where we will reverse the grid from the results from our sprint round just moments ago. And we'll see how the drivers handle that. Extra running, 30 minutes this time. We did get information as to what happened with the Porsches, as they apparently ran out of fuel on the last lap, hence why we had a little bit of weird results there. That certainly should, that segues us nicely, Ryan, into what is a different issue for this race, which is pit stops. Drivers will have to worry about ducking in, figuring out when is the best strategy to try and get to the finish here.
Absolutely. I think some of these drivers might try and do different pit strategies. Some might pit early, some might try and go as long as possible. And also with the Porsche Cup and the TCR traffic as well, it's going to bring a bit of strategy into play with the pit stops.
And last time it was at night, so that was a lot of darkness to deal with, a lot of more difficulty for the drivers. Certainly provided some great action, of course, in the TCRs, as there was plenty of bumping and banging in there with some fierce battles. It'll be a little bit lighter out here for the feature race, thankfully. The drivers should at least not have to deal with that. So we're waiting for the session to be transferred over before we'll get to the grid here. And we'll go racing for 30 minutes. A little bit more points on offer, naturally, with it being a longer race. So this is the more important one, that you want a good result here. And we already heard some concerns from our winner, of course, in the GT3 class last round, that there was a lot more, there was a little bit more worry starting behind the cars that were close on you in pace last round.
Yeah, absolutely. It should be interesting to watch in this race to see how he gets on. And at the moment as well in the TCR class, in the first race it was Miguel Freitas taking the win, and I wouldn't rule Miguel out of taking the win in the second race as well.
So as we wait for that session to come over here, we're watching the cars warm up. You saw up on the screen, it was a little bit warmer on the track with the sunshine out, 76 degrees Fahrenheit on the surface. Also a little bit more wind out there today. Should mostly affect those GT3 cars with the aero on those things. And checkered flag has now finally come out, so we'll get that grid here in just a second. As we switch over sessions now, your starting order for the grid is going to have Jonathan Rodriguez up on the pole. with Stephen McGarity starting in second. Jeff Jacobson will be in P3 with Andrew Miller in fourth, Lewis Klinkhammer in P5, and Chris Howard in sixth. Stefan Schlacker starts seventh. Nick Veltenar will be P8, and then Ethan Bass in ninth. Philip Eckert will start in 10th, and this might switch around some once they get to the green flag, since they have had a small error in making it single class. Ryan, what's the next 10 look like?
Philip Shaw starts in 11th. Alongside him is Connor Paris in 12th. Marcus Walton starts in 13th, and alongside him is the race one winner Miguel Freitas in the TCR class. 15th was Nicholas Morelis, I should say. 16th is Andrew Hitsons. 17th is Alex Faki. Hopefully I said that right. 18th is Sam Winton, and rounding out the grid is Tobias Berka.
Now, it looks like they're going to wave the faster classes up ahead. So with the being single class, that's why we had all the TCR cars up at the front there. And there you can see they're working their way around. Try not to tangle with one another. And I think we should be good there. So they will start in the correct order, thankfully. So now our TCRs start to take off behind the pace car. We saw some really good stuff, definitely, mostly really in the TCRs, though it was close in the GT3, so really don't want to downplay those, Ryan. But I feel like, once again, we're going to see those TCR cars are really where a lot of the fun takes place out here. The close racing is just jaw-dropping with those things.
Like we've seen in race one, it was a close racing throughout the field in that class, and as we've seen a few times, Ethan Bass and Lewis Klinkhammer were getting a bit close at times, and even they went off-roading at one point in the back straight. So yeah, it was a bit tense, but I think we'll beat him for more of the same in race two.
Right on board with a few of the Audis. Once again, weaving, trying to get heat into the tires. I've heard a lot of debate as well, Ryan, about getting heat into the tires here on iRacing. And some of this, from what I understand, even translates a little bit to real life. That the weaving of the tires is maybe a little bit of a myth. That I've been told that actually riding the brakes gets you more heat. As we have a car spinning on the warm-up lap, I think we mostly managed to avoid contact, except for just a few small bumps here.
Yeah, I think that was maybe, I'm not sure that was, but it might have just been a case of cold tyres and being caught out by when weaving to trying to get some temps. But back up at the front, we're just about to get underway.
Yeah, we'll go back and look at the replay later if we have time. But right now, we've got Hitchings leading the way down into the chicane, so not much before we get going green for 30 minutes here in this race. This one taking place in the middle of the afternoon this time, just about 3 p.m. virtual standard time. Up and over the crest under the Suzuki Bridge. Hitchings waiting. Green flag is out as he gets going, immediately cuts in front of Thake. Just behind him, Burka trying to cover off Sam Winton. They come down into turn one for the GT3 class, mostly getting single file here. And it looks like, I think as we have one off, and that was Sam Winton. Let's go back to the TCR start.
Yeah, the TCR's got, got underway without any issues. Everyone's made it through turn one so far, and I can't see any incidents throughout the TCR field. And as someone gets sideways over the curb into the S.
And it looks like we don't have our second Porsche joining us. Morelli's the only one. So Nicholas Morelli is your lone Porsche. He will be, by default, our winner. Up at the front, the very front, Andrew Hitchings in the number 14 ahead of Alex Thake, who's doing a pretty good job right now, trying to stretch away. Winton, with his problems, is really the one who's lost out the most.
Yeah, absolutely. Some issues for him at the start, but up at the front at the moment, it's still Hitson's leading from Faki and Berka, and yeah, in the TCRs as well. It looks like it's been led by, at the moment, as at the moment it's still being led by Stephen McGarity.
And we had a change for position. Believe that was Rodriguez getting overtaken by Valtenar, who spins off. More cold tire problems as we got 2 cars off. Bass also finds himself in the dirt. Valtenar and Ethan both get it going.
Yeah, I just looked at the replay to see what happened, and it looks like Nick just went too hot into the chicane, just lost it in cold tires, and his teammate Ethan Bass joined him for a bit of a synchronized gravel chat. Gravel.
Yeah, both of them just spinning on their own. Klinkhammer didn't seem to have taken the start or something, as he's down in the pit lane as we watch the replay of Eckert have a self-spin as well. Boy, these tires are proving a real problem. Or did Eckert self-spin? Here we go. No, he did not. He had help. Kept it going after the off. Just got shoved out of the way. Oh, and actually Eckert has taken a DNF, so I think he was not happy with the way the car handled after that. Must have gotten some suspension damage, and he has pulled it behind the wall. Meanwhile, we're watching Fake try to catch Hitchings here, and he's only about half a second behind, but Tobias Berger, who proved very quick when on his lonesome, has already gotten up to the back of the 198.
Yep, I don't think it'll be too long before Berger gets by him into second place. And Berger at the moment this season so far, anyway, he's been the form man in this class and this season in general. And I think I wouldn't rule him out of possibly taking this championship as Parker gets a bit.
Yeah, he gets a good run coming off of turn 7. So Burka is going to be able to get into second place over Alex. As they come over the crest, though, is the 198 going to have another go? He gets enough of a slipstream that he's going to look to the outside. It's a game of chicken on the brakes down to the chicane. Alex not brave enough. And so Tobias Burka now solidly into P2. Let's jump back to 9th overall. Connor Parise in the number 11. And a nice side-by-side battle with Rodriguez. He's going to be able to come out on that one. Schill side-by-side as well behind them. That's Walton as they come onto the back stretch. And I think Marcus is going to have the better run. So the number 12 moves himself into 10th overall and what is 5th in class.
Yeah, fantastic battle between these two at the moment. And also big shout out as well to Jeff Jacobson, who's having a good run in that class in race 2. He's never been that quick in this car, not in a bad way against Jeff, but he's always been a consistent.
Rodriguez off and gets run into nose to nose with Jeff Jacobson. Just an unfortunate spin and timing for Jacobson and Rodriguez. They both get it going once more. That will promote Walton into 4th in class as he was trying to make a move at the time. Watching the perspective of Jacobson, the Midwest driver with a hard shunt.
Just unfortunately, I had nowhere to go, and it was just a slight nudge, so I don't think we'll have any damage. And this car is, from my experience of racing it,
you got a potential pass for the lead on the cards here. That's McGarity that you see in the green and white machine as Miguel Freitas already has gotten himself up towards the front. He won last round. He's wasting no time. 2nd in class. This is the battle for 1st that you're watching on screen. Oh, and as that happened, our leader, Andrew Hitchings, has spun off the course in turn 1 and hit the wall. That was a hard one. So the number 74 unfortunately had to take a tow, and we're going to watch on board. After that, let's stay on the replay, switch over to Freitas because he has taken the lead.
Yep, Freitas into the lead at the moment, and starting to slowly pull away.
Looks like he just gets a nice slipstream here. Let's see if we get any sort of defense from McGarity. He's holding off to the right side. So no, he's not going to cover him off. He's just going to let him have the inside down into the braking to the chicane. Expecting this is probably going to be easy pickings for the number 8. And indeed, he is through. So just an update on your order. Tobias Burka is your leader in the GT3 class now, with V-TEC in second and Winton in third. Leading the TCR class is Freitas. McGarity is in second, but it looks like Paris might actually be able to get through him quickly, and there's our lone Porsche out there running. Looks like Connor did get that second place off of McGarity. And then I think Marcus Walton is going to be the next in line. Credit to Steven. I didn't think he'd be able to hold on to the lead for very long, but he had it for about a good 6-7 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a...
Oh!
Yeah, he just... Oh!
That's into the back of Paris, who catches the car, but unfortunately loses the spot to Walton, who's going to take advantage of the chaos in front of him. Sorry, go ahead there, Ryan.
Yeah, as the replay's coming up on screen now, it looks like McGarity just outbraked himself and slightly nudged the back and just ran wide. But I was about to say it, at Barbara 2 weeks ago, I should say, McGarity was having a good race, so again, he's having a decent race too at the moment at Road Atlanta, and if he can keep up, I think it'll be his best result of the season, but it's still got the pit stops to go.
And I think our GT3 leaders are now coming through the TCR pack. Burka, V-TEC, and Winton trying to weave their way through. Looks like V-TEC and Burka have cleared a good chunk of them. This is Veltenar up in front of him. He's going to stay off to the side, so Tobias easily by. V-TEC now approaching. He's going to catch him on the backstretch, so this should actually be perfect timing for the 198. What is Winton in all of this? Winton is through most of them. I was wondering if he got caught up by the big chunk of TCR cars, but it looks like he's good. Meanwhile, Walton and Paris still trying to sort out what is second place in the TCR class. Number 12 holds the upper hand over the number 11. Down in one, Marcus Walton carrying his speed a little bit better than Paris as they come over the crest. And just behind them as we ride on board, you can see Burka is now coming through that Schlocker he just overtook. So as they weave their way through, Burka is able to successfully get by them. Now V-TEC manages to cut around on the backstretch.
Yeah, as you ride on board with him at the moment, and Burka's slowly but surely going away at the moment, and Burka at the moment seems to be the man on form this season so far, even though we've only had about 4 rounds of the season so far, but he's proven to be the man on form at the moment.
Let's head back to Paris because he nearly managed to get inside of him, but he lost a lot of time coming through the chicane. The more these two fight, Stefan Schlocker, who is 4th in class right now in the TCRs, has been closing in bit by bit. He's the red and white machine there you see at the tail of the train. They got a car slow. That's Sam Winton. Must have had some sort of off. He's getting going, so he won't hold them up. We're on board with Steph now.
Yeah, pretty amazed to see where Steph's coming from. I think he was further back at the start, but he's just kept his head down, just been doing his own thing and closing his... Oh, as he gets sideways on the exit of the S's. Jesus.
Spoke too soon. Schlocker catches it, loses a little bit of time, but he keeps the car whole, which is the important thing here. Great job by the number 08 to keep it from bending into the wall. So on to the back stretch. Let's see, can Paris catch him once again? Walton's been trying to pull away and go run down Freitas, but he's got about 5 seconds to make up to the number 8 machine at the lead in the TCRs. He's got a lot of ground to try and cover if he wants to take the win here in the feature.
Absolutely. As just looking at these 3 cars still at the moment, it's Walton, Paris and Slacker, and I think I don't know what to do if I was Steph. Maybe just sit behind these guys and just try and save some fuel, or just go for it and try and gain a couple of positions, or maybe even try pitting early and try an undercut.
That's a good question, because we're already halfway through this race as Paris has closed down some of that gap to Walton now. So is anybody maybe thinking pit stops here? Ooh, a little bit of a look to the inside in turn 3. That's a tough one to make a pass at. But Connor stays behind and keeps applying the pressure to the number 12.
Yeah, I think if these guys can get to possibly around about the between 13 and 15 minutes remaining of this race in the TCR class anyway, they could possibly pit now and make it to the finish. But it's just a question of whether these guys want to try and go as long as possible, and if they go on as long as possible, it means they don't have to take as much fuel.
Onto the backstretch once again. They manages to pull away the good exit off of turn 7. Walton doing him well. We got a little battle back in 12th overall. This is for, I believe, around 7th or 8th in the TCRs. Chris Howard ahead of Ethan Bass. Now, we saw Ethan have a lot of pace in the first race. It seems like that incident at the start is really what put him backwards. So this appears to be a climb up as far as he can go for this race for Ethan.
Yeah, I think this race is just going to be a matter of just getting to the finish and trying to salvage the best result possible as he closes up under the brakes, and has to slow right down. But it's just going to be a matter of salvaging a result and trying to get as much points as possible.
And Andrew Miller's not too far behind them. So 3 cars battling for position. Howard dealing with it well, not letting him get close enough that he can go under attack. Ooh, but he's a little slow on the entry into turn 1. Much better for Ethan. He's poking his nose to either side, seeing if there's any way in, but a defensive move into turn 3 from Chris Howard covers him off.
Chris seems to be a little bit slow at the moment. I don't know if he's I was just watching now. I don't know if he's trying to back Ethan up into his teammate behind him, because he seems to be a little bit slower in the apex. He might be trying to slow Ethan up into his teammate Andrew Miller.
And let's stay on this battle, but Nick Morelli in the Porsche has come in for his pit stop, very close to the rear bumper of Howard from Ethan Bass. Tucks it in much tighter into the apex, might be able to actually get a good shot off of it. And as they come down the backstretch, he's got the littlest of overlaps. But still, he's got to get the job done, and the speed does seem to be going slightly in favor of the 19 now.
Yep, Ethan's got the run at the moment, but he's going to be in the outside though, which might hinder him into the chicane. But Ethan's slightly in front. It's going to be a battle of who's on the brakes later, and Ethan manages to get it done around the outside. Nice job.
Textbook pass there from the number 19, as we do have a pit from behind them. Andrew Miller's going to take it down into the lane, and I think Voltanar also pitting. So there's 2 of our drivers taking scheduled stops here in the TCR class. Voltanar already in his stall. Let's see if he takes tires or if he just gets going. Again, a cool track, so probably shouldn't have need to. Just fuel only. The 99 is out and running. So there is our lone Porsche, who has managed to stay ahead of the TCRs, even with his pit stop. Right now, Freitas is our leader in the TCRs. He's got about 6 seconds over Walton. But Burka has a similar lead over V-TEC right now. 5.5 seconds between the 71 and the 198. That's your top two in the GT3 class. Neither have taken stops. We have had Andrew Hitchings in the pits for a long time. He does not look like he intends to come back out, as the 14 has had big damage. All right, we've got Freitas in. Walton follows. In fact, it looks like pretty much everybody. This looks to be the end of the pit window for our TCRs.
Yep, most of these guys diving down into the pit lane, and it'll probably just be, like we've seen it with one of the other drivers making a pit stop, it'll probably just be fuel only, and these tyres don't seem to wear as much, don't seem to wear as much as expected, but because it's possibly just because it's a front-wheel drive car.
Freitas is off and rolling, so easily retakes the lead back. Walton, though, very close between himself and Schlacher. Schlacher manages to jump Paris in the pit stops. That's going to bump him up to third in class.
A great pit stop from Stefan. He managed to, that was a quick pit stop I noticed, and might have maybe took a litre less of fuel.
Now, curiously, we've got both V-TEC and Winton in the GT3 class, but Burka continues on, our leader, seeming to get better fuel mileage than the other two, still remaining in these GT3s. Winton showing a little bit of damage on the right front of his Audi.
Yeah, quite. I'm not sure what happened to him, but he leaves the pits now and on his way again. But he might have had contact with a TCR car, possibly.
Waiting on Tobias Burka, the last of our drivers to pit. He comes up and over the hump. Is he going to come in this time? No, he's able to keep going. So everybody else electing for a little bit more of a even split strategy. So we come back to Stefan Schlacher, still trying to chase on Walton, keeping him within range. Oh, but Paris, he was a lot closer just moments ago. He must have had some wheel spin or something there over the crest. Look real quick to see if this is worth looking at. I'm not seeing anything really significant there, unless maybe you got some sort of slowdown penalty.
Yeah, or he might have just made a mistake onto the back straight possibly and just ran a little bit wide, but I can't see anything like any damage or anything like that, so maybe he just made a slight mistake.
Yeah, it must have. Oh, and that's a bigger mistake than a slight mistake. It thankfully did not come to damage. Let's get a replay on that moment, though, because my goodness, he was just about half a foot away from slamming into the tire barrier out of turn 5, as many drivers have done over the years.
Yeah, that was certainly a time to be wide awake for that corner anyway. I've had some major moments in that corner, that's for sure, especially over the bump.
And Sam Winton has had an off track in the same spot in turn 5. I think, let's take a look at the replay here. I think it was a single car incident, and I think he managed to keep it out of the barriers. Yeah, here we're going to see it. He's overtaking a little bit of lap traffic, gets out of the way. Turn 5 is notoriously tough. Oh, it starts on the way in there, Ryan.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. That's a bit weird. They just turned into the corner and then all of a sudden the rear end just came loose on him. So I don't know if he might have just tried to put too much power down on the exit, or just maybe being too aggressive over the bump while turning at the same time. But it's a feisty car, the Saudi, especially when it comes to curbs and going over the bumps.
Let's jump back for a little love here for our leader. We see on screen Burka has now 5 seconds over V-TEC. So Alex has cut it down by about half a second, but I have a feeling that the 71 is simply just riding out things and making sure he takes care of the car through this traffic. Loses a little bit more time there as well. Morelli is still out on track for those who are interested in the 195. Freitas still our leader in those TCRs, and he's continuing to pull away from Marcus Walton. This is a rare sight for us. Usually Walton is just trouncing everybody in this TCR class, but Freitas has the measure of them, and by quite a margin.
Yeah, Freitas is one of those drivers I've watched him quite a lot in other leagues in the TCR car, and he's really quick in this car. So for me, anyway, it's not a big surprise that he's out in front at the moment. But I agree with you, Joe. It's I'm a bit surprised that Walton's not not much closer to him, trying to give him a run for his money. So yeah, maybe Walton's been struggling with this track a little bit.
Very curious. We've lost 3 cars so far in this race. Klinkhammer, Eckert, and Hitchings have all DNF'd. We still got 16 total running. A little bit farther back in the pack, we've had something of a battle brewing here. Howard and Jacobson have been close. So let me see if they've got any traffic coming up. It doesn't look like they do, so this is just down to these two trying to sort it out. We're watching from on the nose of Jacobson as he takes it up into turn 5.
Yeah, good battle between these two, even if it's for the lower positions in class. But yeah, I've always liked watching Jeff. He's not always the quickest, like I've said before. He's always consistent, and from the times I watched him in the Weekend Warriors League, he always gets to the end of the race and picks up decent results.
Howard doing well to respond to this pressure because he's pulled it away to about 9/10 of a second. It was as close as 6/10 earlier. So the 31 managing to gap himself from the 140. This is for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th in class. Yeah, this is nice and smooth from Chris Howard as he's already got it up to 1.1. So now we've had the 2 leaders already past one another. Burka has overtaken Freitas. Fake and Winton just managed to go by, so the entirety of our GT3 class, or actually has Winton gone by Freitas? I don't think Winton has. I think he is... Oh, and Winton having some problems. Fortuitous timing there, and he's going to call it a day as he parks it and puts it in the pits. That's going to leave Burka and Thake, the last 2 remaining here in our GT3 class. Burka, your leader. Thake in second.
I'm a bit confused by that, why he done that. He was in 3rd place at the time, so maybe just a bit of frustration getting to him, possibly.
Yeah, it could be. He was already well behind from the issues he'd had earlier in the race, so I think he did not see much point in trying to continue. Going down to Stefan Schlacker, 3rd in class for the TCRs. Boy, that pit stop really paid off because Paris, who is still about a little less than 2 seconds behind him, has not been able to catch back up. I thought for sure that we'd have a good battle to the end between Steph and Connor, but I think he knew what he was doing with that pit stop.
And also, yeah, I found with this car as well, if you look after the tyres at the start, it really pays off towards the end of the race. So I'm thinking maybe Steph's been looking after the tyres in the early stages of the race and just waiting until after the pit stop to push. And so as Steph's on the grass.
Well, you talk about pushing. I guess he is pushing now in these final 4 minutes of the race. Not long he has to go to try and take home a well-earned podium in this series. We're right on board with the 11, still staying with him. That cuts it down to about 7/10 of a second with that little mistake we saw from the Austrian.
Yeah, Paris is closing the gap to him, and yeah, I think that mistake might have been just Steph pushing too hard. But I was just saying as well, if you look after the front tyres on this car in the early stage of the race, I can pay off big time in the later stages of the race, and I think Steph might have done that as well, just to try and look after the car, but that mistake has allowed Paris to close back up on him.
Yeah, closing a lot down through turn 3. You could see that gap has come down visibly. It's now less than a car length between them. And the bad news for Steph here is when they get to the backstretch, Ryan, he's going to be giving Connor a huge slipstream.
Absolutely, as they're coming up to this double right-hander before the back straight, and Paris has a wee sneaky look, trying to show Steph that he's there, but Steph runs wide a little bit, and I wonder if I said there about looking after his tyres. I wonder if his tyres are starting to go off a little bit.
Yeah, maybe he used it up a little too much, too quickly. And this looks like it might be an easy pass because a great exit and a good draft allows the inside, at least for this little kink, but it's going to be the outside for Connor Paris. And he outbrakes Stefan Schlacker down into the chicane. It's going to be a game of chicken, and Stefan manages to get his nose in. Still, it looks like Connor's not going to give up on it. He parks it on the apex, and Stefan gives him a bump. And this has brought Philip Schill now into it. It's going to be a 3-car fight to decide third step on the podium.
I was just about to mention that as well. Philip Schill is in the background closing in these guys, and he's just maybe sitting there thinking, come on guys, get caught up, have a listen so I can pick up the final podium spot. But this is a fantastic battle for the final step on the podium, and Steph's not giving up by any means.
I wouldn't expect him to give up if I know Steph. He is a hard fighter. So we ride on board, coming up and over the crest. We've got 2 laps to go now, because Burke is coming across the line with just about a minute and a half, and those GT3s run 118, 119 laps typically. Steph getting off close to the rear bumper of Connor. Can he return the favor if he gets a good enough run off at turn 7 here? He might just be able to. And he's a little far back, but I think that's still going to be enough of a draft that he is going to be at least side by side.
Steph's got the run. He's closing up slowly in the slipstream. He might be able to try and make a move into. He's going for it up the inside. Can he break later into the chicane? Yep,
he does.
Got it done.
Oh, but look at the over-under. He breaks a little bit too hard, and once again he gets chopped off on the second apex, and this actually puts him under threat from losing the position. Indeed, Philip has snuck through and is now in 4th.
And I think we're just about, I believe we're on the final lap as well, so this is good. Or the next lap will be the final lap, but Schill up the inside into turn 1, a bit of contact.
Steph goes off. He keeps it out of the barrier just barely. And he's far enough ahead of Veltenar. He might be able to get back ahead of him. Actually, no, Veltenar is... Oh, Steph actually cuts across in front of Veltenar. I didn't quite see it on track. He's going to have to take a cut course penalty for that as he slows up for him. Let's take a look at the replay on that incident. Steph had a good run. He was fully alongside him. It was just the slightest of contact on my screen. Let's see here. Maybe a little bit of netcode, unfortunately, making it look more dramatic than it should have been, because they gave each other enough room. It was fair play on that one. All right, we are actually on the final lap for our leader, this man, Tobias Burka, but V-TEC has run him down. And it's down to half a second. Now that was up at 5 seconds before. I'm not sure how and when this happened. Is Burka short on fuel or what's going on? He comes down to the final chicane. It wasn't that much quicker than V-TEC. They were about the same time in their pit stalls. Down through the final few corners, up and over the crest. Tobias Burka is going to be your winner here in the GT3 class. And it looks like our next winner is going to be Freitas, who is just ahead of Morelli. In fact, they're going to be back-to-back. Of course, Morelli is the only car out here, by the way, in that Porsche class, so He has won by default in this second race. He might catch him here. That's him in the background that you just saw a flash of. So as Freitas brings it down into the chicane. In fact, it looks like our winners from two different classes are going to be coming across the line right with one another. Freitas across first, back-to-back wins in the sprint and the feature here for our TCR class, and Nick Morelli taking the victory here for the Porsches. Walton is going to take fifth. What about that battle between Paris and Schill? It's still tight here to settle out the last step on the podium. And I think the 11's got it. Connor Paris, great run from him. That's going to wrap up our drivers as everybody else files across the line. We'll take a quick break here on the Global SimRacing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so don't go away. Welcome back to Road Atlanta. We just watched the feature race today for the second day of racing here in the V-TEC GTR series. Tobias Burka was our winner, and it was much closer than we expected. Alex Thake catching up at the very end, and only a second between them at the line. Morelli was the winner in the Cup class, but he was the only Porsche to show up here in the second round. A bit unfortunate, but glad to see him run it all the way to the end. So that is a big tip of the hat for Nick for still getting the car out there. Miguel Freitas wins in the TCR class and fourth overall. Second in that class goes to Marcus Walton, with Connor Paris finishing in sixth overall, third, and last step of the podium in the TCRs. Then you got Philip Schill finishing seventh with Nick Veltenar in eighth and Stefan Schlacker in ninth. Ethan Bass did not have a good feature race today. He wound up 10th.
Done the rest of the results. 11th place was Andrew Miller. 12th was Chris Howard. 13th was Jeff Jacobson. 14th was Stephen McGarity. 15th was Jonathan Rodriguez. 16th was Sam Winton. 17th was Andrew Hutchins. 18th was Philip Eckert, and 19th was Lewis Klinkhammer.
So we've got Alex Thake second in this race here with us. Alex, this was an interesting one in terms of the traffic. It looks like you guys kept catching the TCR cars kind of clumped together at times.
Yeah, the TCR racing is very close, so it meant that every time you met them up, they always were in a pack of cars. You had to sort of somewhat a bit forcefully get them past them in some spots, because otherwise, you, especially in the S's, if you stuck behind them, you just lose so much time.
It seemed like the Audi could be a little bit of a handful around here. It's already a very tough track in a few corners. So what really did you find the toughest to try and navigate here in this fixed setup?
The toughest corner probably was the one just before the back straight. It's a very tricky corner. If you hit the wrong bump, the car would just bounce across the track and you just couldn't get the power down. Other than that, it felt a bit stiff, so sometimes you went over curbs, it would not be very cooperative in that regard. That's the main issues I found with it. Yeah. Other than that, it was mostly okay.
Now, towards the end, you caught Tobias and were within a second on the very last lap. We didn't actually get to see what happened. Did you just catch him from a mistake of his, or did your pace suddenly pick up?
I think we both did the same thing of underfueling. I underfueled and he underfueled, because we both ran out of fuel in the last lap, I believe, so he was fuel saving towards the end and I was doing the same, so I think I was just a bit more efficient in the fuel saving.
Wow. So that, we wondered, because we looked at your fuel times and you both were about the same. So it was just bizarre. We couldn't figure out what was going on. Congratulations, at least on a second place. Hopefully we'll get to talk to you in 2 weeks' time at Monza.
Thank you.
That was Alex Thake, our second place finisher in GT3. Ryan has caught up with the winner in both the feature and the sprint, Tobias Burka.
Hey guys.
Tobias taking the win in race 2, and Tobias, it looked like you were having a great race, and then in the closing stages of that race, Alex managed to close the gap down on you quite big time. Was fuel the reason?
Yeah, absolutely. I miscalculated a bit, and I was not sure till the end if I was gonna make it. And actually, I ran out of fuel just as I crossed the finish line. So I had to save, and that's the reason why I lost the gap. I had I think 8 seconds or something, and he closed it off. But I just barely ran out of fuel. That's the problem.
Yeah, at the moment this season so far, you seem to be the man in form. Do you think you can carry that form on for the upcoming rounds, or do you think that drivers like Alex can close the gap and maybe challenge you for the championship?
Sure. I mean, there's still 3 rounds to come and challenging tracks ahead. And I suppose Road Atlanta is more a track that suits me better than for example Barbara was. And it'll come down to the particular race. Then maybe somebody has a better form on that day, and then he's gonna win. So I think it's still close. So there's nothing decided yet.
Good stuff. Before we let you go, is there anyone that you want to give a thanks to?
Well, first of all, thanks to Stefan for the series. It's been great fun, and all the drivers that's involved. And thanks to T3 Esports, my team, and my mother and my dad and everybody. That's it.
Good stuff. Well, thanks for joining us, Tobias, and congratulations on your win in race 1 and race 2, and we look forward to seeing you on track at the next round.
Yeah, thank you very much. See you next time.
Great stuff from Tobias Burka, making sure to thank everybody that really needs a thank you. Also, we want to give a thank you to the organizers here of the V-TEC GTR series for bringing us back for another season of coverage. But we also want to thank the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Sean, Ryan, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also got our social media outlets. Twitter is at GSR Channel. Facebook is Global SimRacing Channel. And Instagram is GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, go check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storeenvy.com. We got a link in the description below. And subscribe to our channel just by clicking on the big red button that says subscribe. It's right below the YouTube video here on YouTube. The next race is going to be at Monza, heading over to Italy. That'll be Thursday, March 5th at 1:45 p.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.